Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our specialty class. We're actually lucky to be on today. We've had no power this morning. So it's back on and I got to charge my phone up. Teach me for not charging my phone straight away when I've been using it. But it's all charged up, so we're all good to go. Hi, Tanya. My small business is the stamp set we are using today, and the question for today was how do I make a basic card, a thank you card, using my small business, but also using some designer series paper. And if you're a newbie and you're wanting to make a thank you card, this could be tricky. So this person has asked me also to demonstrate how to cut the cardstock. So good question, because if you've never cut cardstock before, it's probably confusing as well. So, and how to get the best out of your cardstock, which is the best way to cut your cardstock as well. So I understand that, I really do. So Kaz is at the post office right at the moment, sending off everyone's parcels that lived out of our reach to deliver. Keep an eye out for that because that's exciting. If you come on, don't forget to say who you are, and if you're a newbie, say where you're from. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to share with you. This is actually a gorgeous little stamp set, but I'm going to use your support deserves a big thanks, and I'm going to use those two words, and I'm going to try to keep it pretty simple for a beginner, but something that's really lovely for anyone to make, really. So let's come down. So we're going to start off with getting our paper trimmer. So if you're a new person and you haven't got a paper trimmer, you will need a paper trimmer. Okay, and I'm just grabbing one of our A4 white cardstocks. We're going to place this underneath our trimmer. Now I'm going to do it this way because I find if we have the fold going this way, I find a lot of the times the cards fall down like this. So I want to cut it this way. Okay, so I'm going to cut it this way first. We're going to cut it off at 10.5. So you want to line your paper up to 10.5 centimeters. So come to where the 10.5 is up here and line your paper up alongside that. Make sure it's nice and even along your paper trimmer. So make sure it's nice and even tucked up to the top of your paper trimmer. Okay, and then use your dark blade because that is the blade. The other one is the scoring. This will give you two card bases. So turn it around. Now you can just fold that in half and that can be a card front for you, but I like to trim mine just a little bit, just in case through the postage you get a little curled up corner. And also if you're going to do dimensions on your card or just add a little bit of a layer of a flower or something like that, it gives it a little bit more wiggle room to go into your envelope. It's not going to be a tight fit. So we're going to line it up at 14.5 and we're going to use the light grey one, our score blade, and we're going to score that. So we're going to then bring that down and you'll see it's only a tiny little bit here in difference. But we're going to then line this up at the 14.5 and make sure that it's all tucked in nicely. And we're going to just trim that tiny little bit off at the end there. Okay, so now there's lots of things that you can do when you've done this. I would use a bone folder and give that a nice crisp fold. You do have oils on your fingers, so you can sometimes just transfer that oil onto your card, but that holds the card down for you nice and flat. The next step is to work out what colour your designer series paper is. So if your designer's paper is like this moody mauve, you might come in with some boho blue. You can choose the colours that are in your designer series paper. And to find out what colours are exactly in your designer series papers, My tip is to go to the back of your designer series pack, and in here it will tell you the colors that have been used through the pack. So this one has got Moody Mauve in it, so I could use the Moody Mauve, it's written up here, or the Misty Moonlight. It's got a bit of Misty Moonlight in here. It's also got a little bit of Crumb Cake. No, this one hasn't got the Crumb Cake, so I wouldn't use the Crumb Cake, though you could, but I'm not going to. Early Espresso, it's got Early Espresso, so if you wanted a dark card base, you could use the Early Espresso, okay? So yeah, it's got all the colours in here. So you can sort of look at your colour, your Wild Wheat, you could use that for the other side of this paper, because this is Wild Wheat, and then you've got your Moody Mauve and different colours, Early Espresso through this side. So depending on which side you want to use, is to what you would choose for your mats. Okay, so I've chosen to go with the Misty Moonlight side, and I'm going to add a mat. Now a mat, some people call it a mat, some people call it a layer. So it's entirely up to you, and you can do a centimetre mat, you can do a 0.5 of a mat. I'm doing a 0.5 of a mat. So I'm going to line this up at 14 because we cut our card base out at 14.5. So I've just got that 0.5. I'm going to cut that off. Then I'm going to turn it around, and when I have folded my card in half, I cut it off at the 10.5. So I'm just coming in with that 0.5 again. So I'm going to line it up at 10. Okay, now if you are new, you might want to watch the replay over again if you're not quite sure. You might want to watch it a second time or a third time. And that's the nice thing about having the videos each day, is that you can watch them, start them, stop them as often as you need. I like that idea. And this one is at 10 as well. So they're what we call a mat. So what's a mat do? It highlights the designer series paper. It also gives the card a little bit more professional look, but that's a choice thing. Now this is a 0.5 border all the way around this one. So you can see it's quite a small border. So let me just share with you what a centimetre would be. So I'm just going to trim this off a centimetre smaller. So I'm going to make this 13.5 this time, just so you can sort of see if I took that 1 centimetre off. And then I'm just going to take 1 centimetre off the side. So instead of 10, it will be 9.5. So let me show you this one. This is where you make a decision whether you like a bigger white border around your card, or whether you want to have a smaller border around your card. Can you see how the border is the white? So if you wanted a smaller border, you would cut this piece at 10 by 14. If you wanted a bit bigger, you would cut this one at 9.5 by 13.5, and it gives it a bit bigger. But by doing that, you also need to cut your designer series paper a bit smaller as well. So the designer series paper, instead of being 9.5, will be 9. And instead of being 13.5, it would be 13. So you'd just be cutting that 0.5 off. Now this would give you a small border. Okay, so I'm just going by showing you if we did that small border. So you're going to have a smaller border around the pink to the white. But how about if we put a white in there at this measurement? Let me just share that with you, because I just want to share the different things that you can do with your mats. So this one was, like I said, 13. So we're going to cut this one off at 13. 13. And cut this piece off at 13. This was 13 by 9, if I remember correctly. So we want to do this one at 9. So we're going to cut this one off at 9. So this one's going to replace now that designer series paper. And this is what we call a second layer or a second mat. Okay, so it just depends what you want. So you can sort of see that if you bring that in, it's just going to pop your card base up a little bit. Now you're going to have to then cut this one down smaller again. So you need to take that 0.5 off again. Okay, so this one is going to be now 8.5. And then turn it around. Instead of being 13, it's going to be 12.5. Okay, so let me just share that with you. So you can sort of see that you can have a single layer or you can have a double layer or a triple layer. It just depends on what you want. Okay, so you can sort of work out your other little things on here on what you want. And you can put your mats the way you want them. If you don't want it on the white, you might want that wider border the same as the white on the Moody Mauve. So you might go the bigger border on the white and then the bigger border on the Moody Mauve without the white. But you might go, I do like that little white border because it just makes that designer series pop out a little bit more. So you might pop that mat back in there. Okay, and then you can make that a little bit bigger if you want to, or a bit smaller if you want to. So it's entirely up to you how you want to bring your mats in, okay, or layers. So these are what they call layers or mats, but you can either come down 0.5 or a centimetre, whatever you decide on the width of your card and your height of your card. Okay, so the width and the height of your card, whatever that is, you can come down 0.5 or you can come down 1 centimetre or you can come down 1.5 centimetre. It just depends on what you want. So let's stick with what we've got cut out here. So we're going to come in with our Moody Mauve and we're going to stick this one down first. Now don't forget, if you've got a big border, you might want to run it through an embossing folder or something like that. But if you haven't got an embossing folder, you know you can still just stick it on as plain cardstock, okay? Okay. Then you can come down with your white and you can see that you're just going to have a slight border around here or a mat or a layer, whatever you want to call this, is probably... If you call it a mat all the time. If you're going to call it a layer, call it a layer. But when you're reading some people on Facebook or on their Instagram or on their Pinterest or on their blogs, they might have layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. They might do it that way. So yeah, it all just depends on how they see it and how you see it. Okay, don't forget every piece of designer series paper has 2 sides to it, so match your colour up to the side that you're going to be using. That's the best way to do it. So now we have our mats 1, 2 and 3 on there. Now on the inside you'll want to add a mat too, because you want the card to be, when you open it up, you want it to complement the front of the card as well. So this one is our first mat, which is 14 by 10. So it's the same as the one. No, we cut our front one down. So this one's a little bit bigger than the one on the front, but it still will complement the card. Okay, so we're just going to put this one in here. This is going to have a smaller border. But then we're going to complement it with a white to go on top of that. And I'm just going to go through some of these with you, with your whites. Now with your whites is really something to put on here to write on. So you can have a full complementary white going across with a little border, or you can bring in a smaller piece of white depending on what you want, okay? Sometimes you just might have that little scrap and you go, you know what, I'm going to use it. And I'm going to use this one because this is a little scrap that I had left. This little scrap, if you want to know what it is 12 by 8.5, and it was just sitting in with my whites and I thought I'm going to use that. So you can use up card when you're doing it. And it's mainly just to write your little verse. So you can stamp in a little verse or whichever way you want to go. You can stamp or hand write your little verse in. Okay, so we've got that one on the inside. Now we're going to also come in with our thank you words. So I've got my thank you words here. Well, I've got pieces everywhere here. So I've got my thank you words here, and I've decided that I could have either gone with the Moody Mauve or the blue, or we could have gone with the Early Espresso, but I decided to go with the Moody Mauve to keep it in that pinkish one, pinkish frame. Now we need to cut a piece of pink down. I need to do that, so I'm just going to grab a piece of Moody Mauve. Turn my trimmer around so you can see. And we need to cut this piece as a little border or a mat or a layer, whatever you want to call it, okay? And we're going to cut this one at 11 by 5.5. So 11 centimeters, so we want it to line up at 11 by 5.5. So I'm going to cut the 5.5 first because then I can cut that strip. And I've still got this piece as a full section. So, and then I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to line it up at the 11. Now you can make this any size that you want, but I find this is a nice size to stamp the thanks and that in when I come in with my border of my white. So this one would go in here. Now you can also add ribbon or whatever you want, and then you would cut your white piece at 9.5 by 4. That's basically what I use when I do a nice map for the inside, when I'm just doing a word and no anything else. Okay, so let's come with our stamping. Open your ink pad up. Make sure you've lined your word up on your block. I've already done that. So with a photopolymer one, just lay it down flat so it's straight and then bring your block down over the top of it. Now we're just going to line this up, and your support deserves a big, and you can just put this in here. And then I've got my thanks on another one because if I want to make a few of them, which I do, and then we can send them off, you know, so this one's going in here. I find if you have your paper crooked, sometimes you're going to stamp crooked. So line your paper up. Make sure your block's lined up to the line and that your thanks is straight on your block, and then just come down and stamp it. And it is a really lovely, your support deserves a big thanks, and I really love that. If you're a demonstrator, it's also got for supporting my small business on this one, so you could also add for supporting my small business on the inside. Or handmade for you. You could stamp that on the inside, or made with love on the inside. You've got a great taste. You could put a little shopping bag on the back of the card if you want to, or in the inside. Thank you for your order. So you could put for your order. So if you're a demonstrator, you could put quite a bit in there as well. Okay, so there's lots you could use on there, but if you're not a demonstrator, you can still find lots that you can use from this stamp set. Okay, I'm just going to stick this one straight down. Sometimes I dimension this one up, but I'm going to dimension my words up. Sorry, it sounded like thunder. Now, when you look at the card, you might think, oh, my word's actually going uphill. I really did not stamp that out really good. You've always got two sides to a piece of paper, but when you're using a dark ink, sometimes it does, you can sort of see it through and you might think, oh, that doesn't look really good. Don't forget it is handmade, so a little bit of a slight upward rise doesn't really matter. But if you are really worried about it, make sure that you do, and I'm just going to grab my chamois and clean my stamp. Just make sure you have got your stamp on nice and straight. I just threw these on. I didn't line them up because I want to show you how to do that. And you can see that I wasn't far off, but it does go uphill a little bit. Now these do stretch a little bit, so you've got to be a little bit mindful. Make sure you line them up to the line. Okay, so make sure you line them up on a line and make sure that it all looks the same when you've got it on, and then you can come down over the top. These will stretch, so it's better to put it down on a flat surface and then make sure you line your block up with a line, because that way you know that you're lining your stamp up nice and straight. Okay, so that's how you get your stamp on nice and straight. If you wanted to do that again, you'd go, okay, I wasn't happy with that, so I'm going to do another one. I've got one cut out here that I used before, or cut out before. So make sure that your paper's lined up straight. It's important. Okay, so then just come down. Make sure you've got your stamp set up the right way, because how many of us do it upside down? Now, some of you might find it easier to do the big word first. You might find it easier to do the big thanks first. And look, whichever way, it's no right or wrong. Okay, so let's do the big thanks first. So we're going to line that up to our grid paper. We're going to line it up and press it down. And that's a lot straighter this time, because last time I just popped it on there and you could see that it was just uphill slightly. So just by placing it down on the glass mat and then picking it up, made it a lot straighter. Okay, so that's the words. It's not too bad. I just put it on by hand, but you can sort of see it does go uphill. Okay, so we're going to move that one out of the way. Okay, so now this one's going to be dimensioned on, so we're going to grab some dimensions over here, and we're just going to put some of these on. Now, if you want it to stand up nice and solid, you'll probably need to put at least 8 dimensions on to make it stand nice and solid. If you just want to put one on each corner, that's fine. It will raise it up a little bit, but it will flatten down in the middle because there's nothing supporting it. Okay, well, so we'll probably need 10. But look, they're not that expensive, these little fellas. You can cut them in half if you want to. And I just peel the back off. Make sure that you get them off and it sticks. Thank you for the questions. Keep coming in. I'm still writing them down. I noticed another one yesterday or the day before, and I will go back and chase that one up. I'm not quite sure who put that on, but I will go back and chase that up and write that. I'm not sure when that will come on. I'm just running down the list. Thank you for private messaging me your request, because some people don't want their request on Facebook. And look, I respect that and I understand that. So you can sort of see they look quite nice as a little thank you. I'm going to bring this up. Hi, Judy. So this is learning just how to do a basic one. This was the question, how to make a basic thank you card using the small business stamp set, using some designer series paper. And how do you work out mats? Well, mats are interesting. So I did this little one too, so you can sort of see this is in the Wild Wet. This is the beautiful designer series paper that we have been using. So it's a gorgeous one. It's the wildly flowering, and at the moment until the end of this month, you get 15% off your designer series paper. But remember, that finishes at the end of this month, the end of August. So if you're interested in some designer series paper, 15% off is a good go. So a good time to grab your papers. But you can see this one, I've added a few little brads on here, or little dimensions on here. So that's our little thank you, simple step-by-step how to cut it up. I hope you write the measurements down, have a go at cutting it up. Not many things that you need. You've obviously got the stamp set because you asked me about this stamp set, and you've obviously got designer series paper, but match your cardstock up a little bit to make it eye-pleasing. So I really hope that that really helped today, and it gave you a step-by-step on how to make a simple little thank you card. Did you, Sandra? Well, you're going to enjoy this paper if you ordered it through the bank, like for your order, because it is absolutely gorgeous paper, and it's got two beautiful sides to it. Like the designer series paper has got two beautiful sides to every sheet, and you can make up some really beautiful ones. But how gorgeous is this for a thank you card? It says, your support deserves a big thanks. And yeah, so I've decided that I'm going to make some of these up for my customers this month, because it is a basic little one, but sometimes you just need to have that little wow factor without going overboard, which I can do. So God bless you all. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you tomorrow at 6:30 tomorrow night until 7:30. So until then, have a good afternoon, and God bless you all. Bye for now.